The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. This is CA Newry, and I was trying to see if I could hear myself. I can hear myself now, right? Today is Friday, April 11th now. A little after 11 o'clock in the morning. This is CA Newry, and my guest is supposed to be in studio. I'm supposed to have a consultant today, right? We continue our talk about farming, what we should be doing, where we should be lobbying government, but he didn't show up. He didn't show up at all, and I had all of the show prepared for that. But listening to Aaron speak and speaking to Shanlin Longley, right? I said, man, well, Aaron, you talk. It would correct. As I catch myself to try and find out what else could be talked about in the headlines besides that our tourists need to have some kind of camera on their person in order to go jet skiing. I'm not going to say who uttered that and say it in the media, but that's a thing now.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing?
I mean, it was, like, it happened, somebody said it, but it's not a thing.
It's a thing.
No, it's not.
I saw 4 people wearing it.
4 people who wearing what?
See, that's the same thing I wouldn't find out right now. They're wearing cameras.
I mean, I saw a boy wearing the camera for real.
Yeah.
A tourist.
It's a thing. It's a thing. That's why our minister was able to say it. That when you go on a jet ski, the tourist needs to wear body cameras so they can be safe.
Not the people who are licensed to operate.
No. The tourists. The tourists need to wear the body cameras. That's why he said it.
The people who...
And it was a message. And we got to understand who was the message to. The message wasn't to you. And that's why I said, I'm not sure why you're talking. The message for the body camera was not to you.
I mean, who was it for then? Who understands this type of language? Is it fairies? Is it Chickanis?
It was to the U.S. Embassy. They're the ones who raised the concern. And now there's an official response. See, you need to analyze it, do an analysis. See, someone made a point, and now you have an answer. But I can talk about that. We'll talk about that on Monday.
Because
no, we talking crifter.
These boys them got to go.
Yeah, that's
they got to start swimming to Trinidad shortly.
That's why I say, tell Sheldon here, let's talk crifter and let you do that. And how you doing, cousin Mitchell? You good?
I'm doing good, man.
It's good. You supposed to come in last week. You didn't show up.
Yes, things happen. I got caught in the rush hour.
Yeah, but you're good.
It started to shower.
That's making sure you're healthy. Okay, that's good. Make sure. Anyway, I want to extend condolences to Patricia Maricolis Clinton. Clinton Maricolis. I was getting her name mixed up. I have engaged her on several occasions about poetry. I've engaged her on several occasions about history. And anyone knows me that I'm a student of history. I enjoy it. And we went back and forth about Bahamian history in general. It was a loss. It is indeed a loss for the Bahamas to have a transition. And I pray the ancestors welcome her into paradise. I feel the loss right now. I am moved. And I pray for her family and her immediate friends. I just want to say that before we go on. But Aaron, talk to Stanley and Mitchell. Go ahead.
So we were doing a brief rundown of CURIFTA 2025, but there was an issue, Mr. Newry. I was unfamiliar with it. We were talking about the selection process. I don't know the name of the athlete in particular, but Mr. Longley, what happens when there is a concern or an issue that arises? Like, what's the process? I'm an athlete. I had a qualifying time earlier in the season. I compete at the trials. My qualifying time is not necessarily the fastest, or it was the fastest. What do I do if I feel aggrieved or I feel like I was not selected when I should have been selected?
Well, the thing with that is, even if your qualifying time is the fastest, you still have to give credence to head-to-head competition. And that is, you have to be able to come to the trials and compete unless you have a medical exemption. right? And by competing, you have to finish in the top 2. Because if we qualify early in the season, and then we have 3 or 4 athletes come to the trials, and you come to the trials as well, and all 3 or 4 of them beat you, and they qualify, the top 2 are going to be selected for that event. That's just the rules that we have set up in the BAAs. So it's unfortunate, but sometimes injuries happen throughout the course of the season. That's why it's important for you to say, going into the trials, okay, well, I'm suffering this injury. I cannot compete. Can I have a medical exemption, right? And then we will look at that case on a case-to-case basis and make a determination. But we make our decisions based on rules that are set forward.
And you make it on how close it is to the actual games or what the injury is.
Yes.
If it's going to affect you all the way down there or you're going to be over it. So all of that plays a part in the overall decision.
Yeah,
All right.
because you might be the fastest. You might be the fastest in that particular event, but it don't make sense carrying you if you're injured. You're not going to perform at your best if you're injured.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why the trials come.
The qualifying time or distance, but it's also the head-to-head competition.
Yes.
Is a part of the qualifying process.
Yes.
I'll say one other thing. This is the first time in a long time there's been minimum controversy over this very same thing. Sometimes it comes to blows in the beach race. Coach just wanted to get there, and he did that. There was a time we used to choose an athlete who could do 3 events, even though they weren't the best in this or that event, but they could cover 3 rather than take the guy who came second in one of them. So it's a complex but fair thing.
There's always some confusion. It's always.
But this
some
has
mix-up
been
there
the least
every year.
of confusion that I've seen. 1 or 2, boy.
Boys, 400-meter hurdles, right, at the trials. We had 3 guys qualify, right? And if we look at the battle for second and third place, it almost looked as if the third place finisher dive across the finish line. That's because he knew he had to be in the top 2 in order to be named to the team. So all 3 of them ended up qualifying, and he just missed out by hundredths of a second, probably 1/100th of a second.
Wow.
Right? That's how close it is. And that's unfortunate, but the reality is you only could carry 2 for that
Yeah.
event, right? So he got left off the team.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about, fighting for the position. In fact, the under 17 girls, I think it's 100 or 200, they went across like a blanket.
All just all together.
Any one of them could represent us.
Yeah.
Any one of them.
Now that I have the 2 of y'all in studio right now, it's a question that I had looking at Devin Charlton's race, historic race. She also won by 1/100th or maybe 1/1000th of a second. So I noticed something about Devin, but she's powerful. And listening to some of the commentary, right? I think Devin's the specialness of her race is the takeoff, the start. She's quick out the gate, super fast out the gate.
Rocket.
She won that race by 1/100th
Yes.
of a second.
It was so close that if the race was 61 meters, she might have come back.
Yeah,
That's how close it was. It's the closest 60-meter hurdles final in World Indoor Championships history. The top 6 athletes, I think, were separated by just 4/100ths of a second.
yeah.
That's how close it was.
So here's my thing. I could see that if the race were longer, the girls with the longer legs, right, they would have overcome her explosive start that gave her that push.
60 meters. That's why it's 60 meters.
Yeah.
Everybody's running 60 meters indoors. If you come there and you tall and you could get better going after that, that's your problem. She runs 1 to 60
Yeah.
and beats all.
Yeah.
So I don't want no excuses, but if it was an extra this or
No,
that,
she did it.
It's 60-meter hurdles.
Yeah, she did it.
She did it.
100-meter hurdles.
Yeah, 100 meters is a longer race.
It's
so
different race.
Is that her race as well, though? Or are we going to see Denisha, Cartwright, and some of the taller girls? Is that the race that they're going to surpass her in?
Well, traditionally, it's more suited for taller runners, right?
Yeah.
But short runners could be extremely competitive in that as well. We've seen short runners winning Olympic titles.
Yeah,
in 100
yeah.
meter hurdles, right? So it just depends on how well you could sense and your speed for 100 meters, right?
I have apologized to this young lady twice almost going on 3 times. I told her I'd counted her out. She would never kind of make it with her height and even with her explosive thing. When every time she proved me wrong, I have to go back and say, you know, you are.
You were right. You was
And I seen her in New York beat some girls in the 100-meter hurdles and you know,
Who was that?
up and off meet.
I mean, who was the lady that you bought?
I talking about Devin.
Oh,
Shelton.
Devin. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
And she just, you know, that's her race. So if you have a horses on the track run 1 furlong, there's 2 furlong. If you beat me in the 3 furlong, but don't come in my race to 1, I can beat you there. And she has a niche, and she's gonna keep on doing it.
all right. We had Carifta 2025, Olympics LA 28, right? Who we have to challenge Sha'Carri Richardson, and will Sha'Carri Richardson have the same steam in 3.5 years?
She ain't the person to beat.
In 2028?
Yeah,
So who the boys in? Alfred
Alfred and them will eat her up.
or Jackson?
Yeah, we ain't talking about her. These
So what's coming?
You
What's
know-
coming out of the region at this Carifta 2025? You think we're going to identify some of the key players for 28 Olympics?
we'll identify our own. People are coming out of the woodwork now, like Go, Chojo, and all of them, or God. I mean,
Gout.
Yeah. You can't tell, but get your own ready.
Yes.
And
Gotta
that's
focus
all
on
you
your
could do. Focus on our next 3 years. We'll be ready.
All right. Now, just before we go and transition back to Newry's topics, what y'all need from us? What does the B3As, what the athletes, what the sports commentators, what y'all need from us, the Bahamian people, to support Team Carifta?
We need you to come out whenever there's a meet to support. Support is one of the biggest things in track and field. Imagine you come out to a stadium, you're going to run 100, and there's nobody in the stands. It's like, whoop, everything goes down. You get that support? I've seen it at Carifta where John Canoe Music has carried a child around the last lap. She was fading, come back, fading, come back, and won the race, almost falling down.
It's
We
the
have
support.
to support. And my pet peeve is that parental, whenever possible, come out, take the children to training, take them back home, whatever it takes. Swimming is a beast. If you ever have a child that swims, you might as well forget your life.
Morning training in the evening.
Yeah, gymnastics, same thing. But track and field ain't that strict and rigid. But they still need that,
Parental
I don't
support
feel
and
like
presence.
Going today, Mom, like, let's go.
Yeah. Mommy got to put on the shoes and start
and let's
jogging
go.
and say, let's go, babe.
Shanae tells the story, or her family tells the story. There was a time when they used to take her, and then it just transitioned into daddy. Look, we can be late. I got to go to train.
Yes.
And you'll find, I hate to say it, in the Bahamas, when there's a 2-parent involvement in any kid, they do better. I don't care what they say.
And I can tell you all, there are instances where it's okay to lie to your children. There's Leela Green. I didn't think you were allowed to miss a day. Like, I thought the police would come and collect you if you miss a day of school. Not even hooky, not even skipping school, but just stay home. The police is, we smell a little children in here having fun.
Sometimes it pays off. Yep.
Yep, and so that's one of the lies that worked for me. It almost worked. It almost worked.
Crafty.
Anyway, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Carifta rundown to all the athletes, like Mr. Mitchell say, they put in the effort and they've done the hard work. Before you all go, let me just call the other set name quickly for the aquatics team. We're sending down the swim team, female swimmers, ages 11 through 12, Sienna Campbell, Scarlett Donaldson, Isabel Monroe, Taylor Nichols, and Samaya Roll. Age category 13 through 14, Isabella Cucurulo, Alyssa Ferguson, Celeste Gibson, Cyan Isaacs, Deanne McKenzie, Violet Saralegui, Kimaya Saunders, and Skylar Smith. 15 through 17, Group Tia, Isabella Adley, Layla Lewis, Mia Patton, Elle Theberg, Zoe Williamson and Elise Wood. For the males, 11 through 12, Kai Bastian, Logan Camacho, Dakari Cooper, next to Russell, 13 through 14, Kriston Joseph, Alexander Murray, Trace Russell, David Singh, Kaylin Williams, and Isaac Wright. 15 through 17, Tristan Hepburn, William Farrington, Ellie Gibson, Ayrton Monka, Donald Saunders, and Caden Wells. For the open water team, women, 14 through 15, Jillian Albury, Samira Donaldson, and Madison Falk. 16 through 18, Madison Gilbert, Alana Murray, and Erin Pritchard. Male swimmers, age categories, 14 through 15, LaChawn Menzies, Trace Russell, and Kaylin Williams. And 16 through 18, Kevin Johnson Jr., Malcolm Menzies, and Miles Saunders. And while we're all excited about the athletics side of the Carifta, the aquatics team is going for their seventh straight championship. They got 6 straight in the bag, and we going for 7 straight.
7 straight and 9 out of 10.
A 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
We don't have any crossovers this year.
No.
Swimmers
we don't.
to do both.
Yeah, we used to have that.
Yeah, we used to have that.
And I think that's a sign of extreme talent, right? Anyway, I could run on water. Let me see a shark in the water. I could run on water. I've done it before, and I can do it again. You guys, stay tuned for the second half of Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry.
Just sign in and have a seat, please. They'll call you in for your x-ray shortly.
That's why they call it a Wade Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor. We never schedule multiple appointments, so you'll be in and out in no time. And if your initial screening reveals a concern, our radiologist can conduct an alternative screening right then and there. Call 328-8157 to schedule an appointment at 4th Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor today.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
You try to rest, but roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers, for window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it, just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
I am back. My guest finally arrived. I had to go downstairs to get him, so I'm going to squeeze this last half an hour. I have Gerard Darville, who is a agricultural consultant. I'm continuing my series on agriculture in the Bahamas. Of course, just posing questions to him in terms as a consultant on what we should be doing. Recently, I think that was last week Saturday, I attended the agricultural expo that they had on Gladstone Road. It was big. It was huge. It was like a 3-day event. Farmers from all over the Bahamas and also some foreign businesses were here. I saw someone from Trinidad who had a agricultural depot or business in the Bahamas where they help or as a consultant for Bahamian farms. And I found while I was there seems to be a disconnect with government. And when I say government, I talk about just policymakers, not necessarily this government, right? And the farmers. I see that they both are marching to the finish line in order to farm. But there's a disconnect in terms of what each wants and how they're going to get to the finish line. The question I'm going to pose to Jared, again, I'm speaking to consultant Jared Darville here, is do you see a disconnect as a consultant? Right, yeah. And I want you to explain what is this disconnect that you see, and I'll tell you what I saw while I was at the expo.
Well, good day, CA. Thank you again for having me. Good day, Aaron, and good day, Bahamas. I'd like to give the God thanks and praise for us being here today to talk about agriculture. There is a disconnect when it comes into agriculture, primarily because there is no agricultural policy for the Bahamas. That's the first step.
What do you mean by no agricultural policy?
There is no agricultural
Explain
policy.
that. Explain what you mean.
There has yet to be developed by the ministry a policy to govern how they approach agriculture, how they approach 25 by 2025. I think it's now 25 by 2030. There is no structure in how we do it. You could see it by the way how, when I say the government, I'm not attacking anybody.
No, we're talking in general.
Right? You see that on one hand, that they started a egg academy, right? Academy was started under the Ministry of Agriculture with BAMSI. The egg academy was supposed to train persons on how to raise chicken for egg, right? But yet today, there has nobody being enrolled inside the egg academy. There has been no curriculum developed for the egg academy, and we no longer hear anything about the eggs that they were doing at the egg academy. Remember when they did the egg academy, they had these beautiful cartons which said BAMSI eggs inside the store. Well, a major portion of this where farmers have an issue is that BAMSI works off of taxpayers' dollars. So you can't be collecting my tax-paying dollar saying that you're a research and teaching institute, but then now producing and taking things to market, right? Because you're using essentially tax-paying labor, tax-paying electricity, all of these things to subvent and to be able to make sure that your price is competitive to those farmers who don't have those same benefits.
So let me stop you right there. What can the policymakers do to assist farmers? So when I say assist farmers, I'm talking about the egg farmers too, the poultry farmers, and then just the regular farmers in general, right? I know we have, the government tends to buy produce. We have a produce exchange, right? Yesterday, to see what's being sold, they had 4 products, and then a lot of empty spaces of what else it could be hold, right? And I'm saying, what, there aren't any farmers producing? That this all I have here to select from? Why is the BAIC empty and there are farmers out there?
So BAIC has an issue. I spoke about this before, that the Bahamas, we need to be able to establish an agricultural tax. It's the only way that agriculture will be sustainable, because farmers are not opting into BAIC because BAIC is like 90 days, sometimes 120 days late on payment. And farmers find that to be unsustainable. Farmers have been trying to find different outlets through farmers markets and different means to be able to offlet their produce because they just can't wait 90 days. It's breaking them. And so what you see that enters into BAIC is those farmers that are, kind of stuck in the old ways, don't want to move, or just really that desperate. They just really need an off-take agreement, because that's what farmers need. Farmers need a government who can be able to step up and honor certain policies that are already on the books. There is a policy that says that anybody import agricultural goods into the Bahamas, i.e. chicken, i.e. vegetables, fruits, they must purchase 40% of that locally. They don't enforce it, right? They don't enforce it, and sometimes the retailers, they use particular jargon that say that, oh, well, Bahamians can't meet the demands, and they say that, oh, well, we're ordering 20,000 tons of chicken, and no Bahamian could supply 20,000 tons of chicken, but a Bahamian might could supply 1 ton, right? And that helps us to be able to grow, because the market is only so small. We only have about 400,000 people. We have about 1.5 million, I think it's stopover visitors. I can't remember the number on cruise ship visitors, but they barely buy any local products anyway, right? They stay on the ship and they don't buy local stuff like that. But when we look at them, the market is so small that if you can't tap into restaurants, if you can't tap into hotels, if you can't tap into the food stores, you basically have no market.
So force the food stores to buy stuff?
Yeah.
Just say you have to buy the produce there?
Yeah.
But what about those goods, what we say rejected goods, don't meet the standards? Man, that bruise, man.
Yeah.
That too small. Or, teacher, the onion too big. Because I see the Bahamian onion, they have some big onion.
The onions are too big, right? The onions, in all fairness, the onions are too big. Again, right? This is what BAMSI is actually supposed to be doing. BAMSI is actually supposed to be teaching farmers the proper procedures, the proper techniques to get their goods to market. But instead, we find it now that BAMSI is in the business of selling produce. I seen a post the other day, how wonderful it may be. BAMSI has their own tomato sauce. And I'm saying we're going so far.
That's not good that BAMSI have their own tomato sauce?
No, it's not good.
So what you mean? The Bahamian farmers, like call I see you, the Bahamian farmers sell, because BAMSI don't grow things, eh?
Yes, BAMSI does. BAMSI has about 800 acres which the government gave them, in which, they promised on the onset of BAMSI that persons that graduated from BAMSI were to get acreage for trial plots to be able to develop their farming, what they learned at BAMSI. Well, they reneged on that. BAMSI went into wholesale, which is not what BAMSI is supposed to be, because we are supposed to be promoting Bahamian farmers. How can I be trying to compete with the government in farming? If the government wants to control farming, then just say that and stop asking civilians to give up on their lives, their livelihoods, to go into agriculture.
Let me get this caller in, because the caller been holding for a while. But there are a number of Bahamians who said that the Bahamas needs to produce. Therefore, government needs to be intimately involved. We appreciate the farmers. Mm-hmm. We appreciate the farmers and their effort. But for us to meet the demand for what the Bahamas needs, perhaps the government needs to be farmers or own a farm also.
Yeah, and I could agree with that, but they have to make up their mind on which one it's going to be, right? You could say that, guess what, the government is going to do the farming, and we need you just to be able to support the government with services, right? That's fair. But then don't tell us that we need you to farm and then turn around and compete directly with the farmer, offering lower prices, offering better scales of economics, because if you're sending down a full 40-foot container because you have 800 acres to plant on, it's different from me with the 5 acres that you gave me, sending down 2 pallets, sending down 3 pallets, right? It's a big difference. I support the government in trying to help the Bahamas get where they need to get, but maybe perhaps BAMSI could have produced the bulk tomato paste and allow for agro-processors to buy it in bulk and rebrand it, brand it themselves to help promote other Bahamian entrepreneurs, but to get into the market themselves, competing with persons that are looking at agriculture for a way out, I think is wrong.
Let's go to this caller. Producer Patrick, caller through. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear us? You still there?
Hey, yeah, great show as usual. See you and your guests. How you doing?
Doing well.
Good day, sir.
Great. Yeah, agriculture has a stigma attached to it, right? It's known as a Haitian man job. People involved because it's a multi-million-dollar job. A lot of money in it. And also, to some people, I shouldn't say a lot, has caused it bad on Bahamians trying to get land. Government, based on the fact that they're utilizing the land to build condos and using it for other means other than agriculture. So that's actually part of the problem why it's difficult for people to get crown land to do agriculture. I'll just hang up for your guest response.
Yes, Jared Darville, who is the consultant. Go ahead.
So you raise a very, very critical point. We talk about this often at CARICOM level, whereas we talk about the reappropriation of land. Agricultural land is historically, not just inside the Bahamas, but worldwide, being repurposed for touristic development. It's because, all right, so you have a bunch of lawyers and you have a bunch of real estate agents. They make money off of selling land, right? They don't make money off of working land. So once you have persons that sit around a table, they have a version of thinking that they're familiar with. They know how to make money. But what I want to be able to tell you is that agriculture is not a Haitian profession. Agriculture has no ownership to it by any demographic.
It's for poor people, man. Poor people's farm.
Well, I mean, in America, that is different because all of the rich persons farm, right? Because agriculture is very expensive. When we look at agriculture, I would say this. When we set up the Golden Yoke Project, the Golden Yoke Project was set up to make 500 farmers earn between $120,000 and $240,000 a year harvesting eggs. This is only the direct egg production. This doesn't have anything to do with any of the offset subsidiaries that come from egg production. If we were looking at being able to produce, I think it was 10 million cartons, 10 million dozen of eggs per year. 10 million dozen of eggs. If you're selling the egg cartons for 50 cents, that's $5 million. That's a different aspect of agriculture that doesn't require heavy labor. You also have the implementation of the chicken bedding, right? You know, with the chickens have to keep them warm, the nice the wood shavings that go down to the bottom there. I mean, if you're being able to bring in 2 million, 3 million birds, that's a lot of chicken bedding. That's enough to transport.
And that's why I would stop you. Because while I was at the Agro Expo on Saturday, right? They had a chicken coop there. And they had the layers and the rooster there and said, man, you can get into that. And I said, man, this looked good because the chicken was laying eggs there.
Yes.
And I said, man, I could get like 2 eggs, 3 eggs per day.
Yes.
But then I said, okay, what is the startup fee to get this coop and two layers, right? And when a woman say $1,200, $1,300, I said, I can't afford that, man.
Yeah.
I can never get into the chicken business.
But $1,200, $1,300.
As a poor farmer? So you need to give me a loan of some sort?
Yeah, but all right. So again, we have to be able to make agriculture practical, right? A lot of persons approach agriculture and they approach it in an impractical way, right? You're not going to take $1,200 and spend $1,200 on less than $120 worth of items. You have to be able to use different items that you have around, right? This is how farming is done. You cannot go and talk about you want to build a condo to go put some chickens in.
No, I just want something small to have my 2 chicken.
Yeah, and so it should never be that expensive, all right? Wood isn't that expensive. But again, we will always face these barriers if we do not have scalability, right? Because if you're just trying to do, say, 10 chickens, 12 chickens, yeah, $1,200 is a lot. But that same $1,200 could build you the same space to hold 1,000 chickens, right? It's just how you using your scalability. But again, we run into the issue.
But I see you call. I get the producer prep the caller for me so they can ask the question, right? How do we get Bahamians, regular Bahamians like me, shortage, right? I want to have basically a rooster and 1 hen. And I want to have one, like what I call a chicken coop, not too big, able like I could reach in, grab the 2 eggs per day. But it seems to be a battle for working class people like myself to say, Bahamians need to invest in egg. And I say, I try to invest in egg, but I can afford one $300 to $500. But when you're saying $1,200 going up to $3,000 for that, I said, man, no, that I have to pay towards the rent and the mortgage. You know, I can't afford to enter this egg business at all.
The Golden Yoke was set out to do that. The Golden Yoke was designed to build the houses. It was designed to give the land. It was designed to give the birds. It was designed to give the inputs. And the only thing that the farmers had to do was to get trained in order to take care of the eggs. What I would think a good strategy for the government to approach, one that Michael Pintard did when he was the Minister of Agriculture, when we were having that COVID epidemic, and he brought in all of those chickens, and he started just giving away chickens, right? It was a good idea, but but working with the Ministry of Environment and working with the Ministry of Agriculture, chickens in everybody's backyard can help to reduce our rat problem. Because all of those kitchen scraps that persons throw into the trash receptacle that make for harboring those rodents, if you have chickens, those chickens consume all of those kitchen scraps.
We have a marketing issue too.
Yeah.
If I sell it as that and say, buy 3 scrap for the chicken, then the chicken start working for me other than producing eggs.
Other than producing eggs, right? And so now you're able to help keep down our rodent problem. You're able to help supplement our feed issue, right? Because we don't create our own feed in the Bahamas. All of our feed is imported. One of the major steps for being able to be food sovereign is for us to be able to create our own feed. The government needs to be able to give grants to particular farmers to get into primary feed production,
Okay. We have a caller now. I'm going to get connected caller, but I have a text. It says exactly. I have been saying this for years. The government is going into direct competition with small businesses in the name of doing something good. A few months ago, we heard the digitization unit was creating a ride sharing app. It's an initiative squarely in the realm of private business. They do this over and over again as if they do not understand that they actually have a role. That is fostering the environment. Let's go to the caller there. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Good show. Yes, man, you hitting all of the nails on the head. I agree. Our governments over the decades, right? They continue to prove to us exactly what this young man saying in a lot of cases, right? That they are not serious about feeding ourselves, right? I don't know why they're making money off taxes, and that's all they're interested in my view. But if we were influenced in teaching our citizens that the most important person on the earth is not a doctor, a politician, it's because at the end of the day, right? All of those people need to eat. I don't know what they just be eating. I don't, but everybody need to eat. So why isn't that being pushed to the point that it becomes more awareness to the populace, right? In an educational way. Check the what do you call it, the agriculture budget, and then it will determine to all of us that our government is serious, because the budget of agriculture would have been so strong to the point that what this gentleman has said, we could have created islands with zones would grow a certain vegetables or fruits or even livestock. Right, we have Long Island, right? I don't think nobody just grow better mutton in the world than Long Island. Why is that is not being expanded? And because these things right here in our hands, but we just don't have the wherewithal to get it done, man. You guys have a nice day.
Thank you very much, caller.
Right.
Okay, you respond.
Because see, I had to sit back and I had to understand what is the motive operandi for most governments. And what I realize is that it's an extrapolation of wealth. Anything that we have good going on, when they look at it in a lens on how we can use this to secure our retirement. We look at it through the non-nationalization of numbers. The profits from the numbers, the lottery gaming could have gone tremendous ways in helping with our health infrastructure, helping with our roads, helping with agriculture, helping with education. But they put it in the hands of a few so that you do not really know what happens with these excess.
So you're saying agriculture needs access to more money?
Agriculture needs access to more money. Let me tell you why. All right, so there's a proposed, $183 million to fix some road in West Grand Bahama. Now, I love Grand Bahama, love West Grand Bahama. I feel like they really need it. It costs a Golden Yoke $15.5 million. That included a new feed mill. First time in almost 50, 60 years that we had a new feed mill. It included building 10 poultry houses, and it included getting 500 farmers up and running to make between $120 to $240,000 a year. $15.5 million. In the first year, the government would have seen a return of about $8 million in profit, right? Here's what agriculture does. Agriculture allows you the ability to grow the economy, not just dump money, right? Because if you take $183 million and you put it into road, you can't eat road. You can't do nothing else with road but drive on it. And we also have an issue with the regulation of road installations, because we see numerous times, especially in New Providence, that these road works are being done and the road work is shoddy. Within a year, the roads are sinking, they have potholes, and it's not a wise investment. If we were to take the same access to invest it into farmers, this money can multiply This money can multiply, grow the economy, and have reserves to still do the things that the government wants it to do.
Okay, I have another caller here. This text says, BAM's role is to research. That's it. Not competing with local farmers. There's a lot of wastage in farming.
Mm-hmm.
The other day when I went to BAIC to get peppers, normally the bag is like 150, 180.
Yes.
They was giving the bag away because there was a glut.
It was a glut, yes.
in the market.
Yes.
And I'm saying, because they start throwing it away. Because it starts spoiling and
they
rotting.
do that every year.
But my thing is, does BAIC, does the government, does the system, I come to you right now, caller, does the system have a process where you say, okay, there's a glut, right? We ain't gonna throw these tomatoes away. Because I remember back in the day, just throw all out by Porter Ski, just throw all away in the water there, right? Feed the fishes. Is there a system where they can say, hey, either we selling these overripe tomatoes or these overripe bananas or these overripe peppers as a different sort of product. It's not going to be as a product to buy, whatever it is, but we making sauce. We be bottling these things.
Yeah, so see, I don't know if you remember when I was there at BAIC, when they had the glut with bananas and with peppers, right? Remember we made it into a pepper sauce, right? But when I left from BAIC, these how these things are. It takes people with vision in these spaces to accomplish these things because it isn't hard. If you have a person that is underpaid, they feel like they've been passed up for promotions, they really, a typical, government worker who doesn't really care about their job, they're not going to go above and beyond, especially when you look at government entities in which persons who at BAIC may have never even studied agriculture. They have been MP or the Grammy asked the MP for a job, and they ended up there. So we don't really have many people who love agriculture in agriculture.
Okay, let me go to this caller. I want to ask you about chicken because I see you doing some kind of initiative recently, and I want to ask you that before we go. But go ahead, caller.
Good morning to the young man.
Good morning.
I know Ms. Green and Mr. Mitchell still is in the studio, but I'd like to highlight this young man. I always listen to him, and so he has a wealth of knowledge. And so, I just like to thank him publicly for just bringing to light the counteractions versus the narrative being put forward by the government. I know Michael Pintard would have been very, he did some crucial things as relates to the farming industry, right? But I'd just like to say this, right? When we look at ancient civilizations and the way they preserve foods, right? We have lost that innate ability. So, like say I had 100 bananas the other day, right, see in Newry, and all is ripe one time. So, we put them in the fridge so we can make banana pancakes. And so, even so, like, in preserving foods, then you're willing to acknowledge the importance of it. Whether Thomas Malthus would be correct, there would become a point in time in history when we will have to really do these things because there is a message for the human race. And so because we have all been distracted with white suits and affluent jobs and whatever, and impressing society, we will end up. Well, the issue is, I don't think the government is doing a good management of that either, because that can be a leverage towards other countries, given the fact that we have a vast ocean compared to our population. So we will always be able to eat fish. Thank God I'm a fish eater. But there will be a point in time when we will have to end up eating Remy wigs, Mercedes-Benz, Rolex, and expensive tennis and jeans and clothes. And God Almighty will show us that. And so then we would realize what this young man is saying. Food is the starve of life. And so I'm totally agreeing with what he's saying because I'm thinking truthfully. And I'm not going to be deceived by society in the world. The rats, the rodents, I have an almond. You remember very small steer, you used to grab the almond and bag them and eat the almond?
Yes.
Yeah, but the rats eat them now.
Yeah, I see that.
The thing is, there's a message for the human race. Stay tuned. Bless up.
Thanks very much. I thought we soon go, but you have a chicken type initiative. I want to hear more about that before you go.
Yes. So, Farm by Kids is an initiative that I'm pushing to involve youth inclusion in agriculture. I'm often asked, all right, Gerard, how can we get more persons interested in agriculture? And my thing is that we have to press reset, all right? We have to be able to go at these kids from when they're young, be able to show them the importance and be able to show them how money is made in agriculture. So on May 3rd, we're having a chicken harvest, right? The chicken harvest, we have whole chicken, organic chicken, broilers that we are going to be slaughtering and making available for the public for sale. $15, but with the code
$15?
$15 per bird.
Okay, that's
but
not
with
bad.
the code CA Newry 10, you get a discount, 10% discount.
Get 10% discount.
Yeah, just for
if
saying
they
your
mention
name.
my name.
Just saying your name.
So $15 for these birds.
Yes.
But if they mention my name, you get discount.
Yeah, you get it for $13.60.
Okay, $13.60.
Yeah.
Where can I go and get a chicken?
Yeah, we're going to be by the Farmers Market on Gladstone Road on May 3rd.
And wait, that's Saturday, Friday?
Yeah, that's a Saturday.
So Saturday, May 3rd.
Saturday, May 3rd.
And what's the name of the organization again?
It's Farm by Kids.
Farm by Kids, which is what type of, that's kids growing chicken?
Yeah, that's kids doing agriculture, everything agriculture. 2 weeks ago, they were building beehives. We have a banana plantation that we put down over 2,000 bananas. And now we're getting into some poultry.
Yes. So May 3rd.
May 3rd.
Saturday. You can come up there and get $15 chicken, organic chicken.
Yes, and you could also purchase chickens to donate for the Children's Emergency Hostel. You could be able to donate for any special organization that you may hold dear to your heart. We take those donations.
And if you
as well.
mention my name, CA Newry,
yes,
get 10%.
Let
me quickly go to this caller, and then so we can wrap up the show. Go ahead, caller. Guardian Radio AM.
Mr. Newry, how you doing, man?
Doing well, man.
This is Debanyas. I heard your friend Davil.
Yes,
he's right on point. But Davil, I also want to mention that there seems to be no structure with what's being grown for people like us who's agro processors.
You're correct.
So we for years, I've been doing more than 30 years now, and we would talk to them about what we need to have grow consistently. And we do get pepper from BAIC and other farmers like every Friday that come in, regular farmers,
And you remember when I was even trying to help you get peppers with Cisco and all? Remember that? When you was really looking for peppers?
Exactly.
When it was a shortage? Yes.
We've been in it so long right now until we can scale. Now, one of our products selling in the U.S. for big money. You can look on the website.
I just was bragging about your products just the other day.
And we still need help to scale our business. I know the farmers. No, I know the farmers need to get grants, but we need to get grants too.
But let me tell you something, right? Watch this. Watch this. Hold on, because we got 1 minute. Let me tell you something, right? I was approached just the other day by Tabasco Pepper Company, right? Tabasco wants us to get into contract farming with our farmers to produce Tabasco pepper sauce for them, right? They are willing to give us contracts, right, that they're going to be able to pay up to 65% upfront, 0% interest loan for farmers to get started with producing Tabasco pepper for them. Now,
but Dabo, we have brands that's coming up here that tourists want more than Tabasco.
Yes, but the vineyards is in demand.
But this is what I'm saying.
From the hotels, they want a local product.
I'm not promoting Tabasco. What I'm saying is I am promoting structure. See, they come in and they present structure. What needs to do is, especially for processes like yourself, you don't just come overnight. You would use traditional foundation. That we need to be able to establish contract farming so that we could steadily supply processors like you. But if it isn't a structure, then
the vineyard, reach out to me so I could bring you on the show so we could talk about what all your type of organization business needs. Also, Davil, give me your number for the kids for...
Yeah, 804-8802.
Do it again.
804-8802.
That's 804-8802. Just in case you want to call them Farm by Kids. Again, the venue again, reach out to me. I think you still have my number. I would love to have you on the show just to hear about the frustrations and to encourage you to get to the next level, and also to inform the Bahamian people of your business and again, text already, business and everything like that. This has been Guardian Radio AM. Thank you very much for farming consultant Gerard Davil. We'll continue our program and our series talking to him, so we'll be seeing him in the next week or the next 2 weeks in regard. Anyway, this has been Guardian Radio AM. Have a nice day.
Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.